What's going on, guys? It's your boy Joe Farewell with Tactical Hyve, and I've got a really cool video for you today. We're going to be talking about my experience in law enforcement and competition shooting and how we bridge that gap. I've got 4 things for you from the competition shooting world and how it can apply to you in your defensive mindset, how it's going to help you to be a better shooter, and how it's going to grow your game overall. So there's a whole lot of conversation out there, and I see it every day where people are talking about how the competition shooting will get you killed in the streets. It doesn't apply to the real world. And I gotta say that there's definitely some points there that are valid, but for the most part, competition shooting, as long as you're applying it to the real world aspect effectively, can really help you improve your game. So one of the big things is just the raw shooting ability and shooting at speed. Now, when we look at actual real world shootings, whether that's military, law enforcement, personal self-defense, those things happen in a split second, right? It's not something that's necessarily long, drawn out, lots of time to prepare. Those things are happening immediately with lots of pressure on you to perform in that moment. Competition shooting, similar to that. We have to put rounds on target effectively. Your misses are going to cost you, and you have to do it under the pressure of time. Now, a lot of people say, well, time doesn't matter in the real world. I would absolutely argue the opposite of that. Time 100% matters. You need to be able to get effective rounds on target in a very short period of time while maintaining good fundamentals. In competition shooting, there's no better way to really master the fundamentals of manipulations and getting rounds on target quickly than pushing into the competition world. Now, all that's to say, don't necessarily just train competition. Like, I've done a lot of different things. I spent 6 years on SWAT, did a lot of things with them. I've done a lot of scenario training and force-on-force training as well. But I will tell you, the competition side and pushing my shooting ability through that has made me a better operator, made me better prepared to use a firearm, whether it's long gun, shotgun, or handgun in self-defense or in the defense of another. So another area that the practical shooting sports can really help you develop your skill as a self-defender or an operator comes down to balance and movement. So in the shooting sports, when we're operating under the clock and we're trying to put accurate rounds on target quickly, we're constantly moving between positions, between bays, and keeping ourselves effectively hitting targets that entire time. In the self-defense world, the real world, if you will, same thing applies. If you're not shooting, you should be moving. If you are shooting, you should probably be moving as well. Most situations involve movement around vehicles, through houses, etc., where you're not going to just be standing statically in a line shooting a paper target. Being able to move and maintain your balance while you're moving, especially in a confrontation, is incredibly important, because the last thing you want to do is end up on your back and now you're fighting from a completely disadvantaged position. So on that same note, the competition world really does a good job of ingraining muzzle discipline. If you break the 180, that line that follows you down the range, if you come around and break that 180, you're going to go home. You've been disqualified from the competition. In the same sense, in the real world, granted we live in a 360-degree environment, but you need to be aware of where your muzzle is pointing at all times. I see this all the time in law enforcement shootings and civilian shootings, and as people are crossing front, people are not putting their guns down. They're still pointing guns at each other. Even though it's accidental, their focus is so heavily on the situation that's happening in the moment that they're not aware of what's happening with their muzzle. Now, in SWAT school, we got hammered on that. If you lasered somebody, you were going to do push-ups and all kinds of other super fun activities. But in competition, they will send you home if you are not following the safety rules. So I think that becoming more aware of where your muzzle is at all times and being able to keep that while you're under pressure is going to help you on the street when it comes to just having good muzzle discipline in general. The last point I want to bring up is just simple processing of information. All right, in the competition world, we are constantly changing our position, changing the target that we're shooting, whether it's close, far, covered by another target. We may not be in the perfect position, so we have to change our angle. All of these things are building processes in your brain, and you have to process that information very quickly in order to achieve a high score. Right now, the score in the competition matters, obviously, but not nearly as much as the score on the street does. So being able to process information at a high rate of speed, and not only as far as what's in front of you, but also dealing with malfunctions and how to clear a jam and get your gun reloaded if you feel it go click. What do you do? Like, all of those things in the competition world, it's safe, but it takes time. In the real world, that could mean the difference between life and death. So each one of these little aspects that we pull from the competition training really does apply to the real world and how you handle yourself in a self-defense situation. That being said, you shouldn't slack on the scenario training, on the force on force training. Those are all important parts of this. Learning how to use your gear, your tourniquets, your flashlights, all that stuff is crucial to building a good, well-rounded understanding of how to protect yourself in today's day and age. So I hope that gives you a good couple of points to think on, some ideas to mull over, some ideas that maybe push you into the competition world. You can still treat it like a tactical training, but I would highly encourage you to do that to build your actual shooting skills and your processing of information and get you comfortable with your gun in the first place. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll see you on the next time at Tactical Hyve.